Every black belt in the dojo glanced down at her and smirked, as if she was a misplaced piece in a room of power. The air smelled of sweat, leather mats, and old discipline. Sunlight streamed through the high dojo windows, slicing across the polished wooden floor where fighters stretched, sparred, and sharpened their techniques. Among them stood Isla Harper, quiet, reserved, and small compared to the towering athletes that filled the room. Her blonde hair was tied back neatly, her GI spotless, and her presence almost invisible, at least to those who judged with their eyes alone. "You, a black belt," one boy sneered, his voice carrying across the mat. His GI was crisp, his posture arrogant, and his smirk dripping with the kind of confidence that came from never being challenged enough. A ripple of laughter followed. Some of the younger students whispered to each other, their voices coated in mockery. A few adults exchanged amused glances, as if watching a child step onto a stage she didn't belong to. Even the head instructor raised an eyebrow, the faintest trace of a smile flickering across his lips. But Isla did not flinch. Her eyes, calm, focused, and unreadable, studied the room. She moved with a kind of silence that unsettled those who looked too closely, as though beneath her fragile frame rested something unshakable. What they didn't know was that Isla wasn't just another shy girl in karate class. She was a champion, trained in silence, raised on precision, molded by years of sacrifice and untold discipline. She carried a legacy written not in words, but in victories, resilience, and scars unseen. One morning, one challenge, one underestimated girl, that was all it would take to silence an entire dojo. Because arrogance is loud, but true power, true mastery, is quiet. And soon, the laughter echoing across that dojo would transform into stunned silence, as Isla Harper revealed the truth they were all too blind to see. This is not just a story about fighting. It is about assumptions shattered, respect earned, and the lesson that the quietest person in the room is often the one worth fearing most. The dojo buzzed with energy that morning. The rhythmic sounds of fists hitting pads, the sharp snaps of GIS against skin, and the heavy thuds of feet on mats created a steady drumbeat of discipline. Banners with Japanese calligraphy hung on the walls, whispering silent reminders of respect, honor, and perseverance. But none of that seemed to matter to the group of black belts gathered in the center of the room. They stood tall, their belts tied with the pride of countless sparring victories. Among them was Marcus Lee, the head instructor's star student. Tall, broad-shouldered, with dark eyes that gleamed with arrogance, Marcus had become the unspoken leader of the young fighters. His reputation was built on brute strength and showmanship, and his smirk never left his face when he spotted Isla Harper sitting quietly near the back wall, tying her belt. "Hey, look at this," Marcus muttered, loud enough for others to hear. His voice carried with the confidence of someone who expected laughter to follow. "Little Isla thinks she's ready to train with us today." A wave of chuckles rippled through the group. Another black belt, Jenna, nudged Marcus and whispered just loud enough, "She looks like she should be in the beginner's class. Are we sure she's even in the right room?" Even the younger students, sitting cross-legged at the side, exchanged curious glances. To them, Isla was a mystery. She rarely spoke, never boasted, and always trained alone with quiet precision. But today, under the watchful eye of the entire dojo, her silence made her the perfect target. The instructor, Master Hayato, stood at the far end, arms folded. His stern face revealed little, but his eyes flickered with something more than amusement, something closer to curiosity. He knew lineage when he saw it. He had trained champions, warriors, and prodigies. And though Isla's soft demeanor fooled many, her stance, her stillness, hinted at a depth the others could not see. Marcus stepped forward, smirking. "Tell you what, Harper," he said, his tone dripping with mockery. "Why don't you show us what you've got? Let's see if you can even last a minute." The room grew quieter. A challenge, even said as a joke, was still a challenge in the dojo. All eyes turned to Isla. Some expected her to refuse, to shrink back into her corner and escape the humiliation. But Isla simply tied the last knot on her belt, stood up, and bowed politely. No words, no protest, just a quiet acknowledgement of the challenge. Her silence unsettled Marcus. He expected stammering or excuses, maybe even fear. Instead, he was met with calm acceptance. Whispers spread quickly across the mats. "Is she serious? She's going to get crushed. This is going to be embarrassing." Yet Master Hayato's lips curved into the faintest smile. He had seen arrogance before, and he had seen it fall. Today, he suspected, the dojo would learn a lesson they wouldn't forget. The air grew heavier as the two opponents stepped onto the sparring mat. Laughter still lingered at the edges, but beneath it was curiosity. Everyone wanted to see what the quiet girl could do. And Isla Harper was ready to show them. The dojo floor creaked beneath the weight of silence as Marcus and Isla bowed to each other. The circle of students tightened around the mat, their whispers fading into expectant hush. It was no longer just a joke, it had become a test, a moment no one wanted to miss. Marcus rolled his shoulders, cracking his neck with exaggerated bravado. His GI sleeves strained against his biceps as he flexed, a display meant to intimidate. "Don't worry," he said with a grin, "I'll go easy on you." His words oozed arrogance, and a few of his friends chuckled, nodding in agreement. Isla said nothing. She simply raised her hands into a defensive stance, feet lightly apart, weight balanced like a feather on water. Her eyes locked onto Marcus, steady and unblinking. It was not the gaze of a child stepping into danger, it was the gaze of someone who had seen this dance countless times before. "Begin," Master Hayato commanded, his voice echoing through the hall. Marcus wasted no time. With explosive speed, he lunged forward, throwing a sharp front kick aimed at Isla's chest. Gasps erupted from the sidelines. The kick was fast, strong, enough to knock down most students. But Isla moved like water. With a subtle sidestep, she allowed the kick to slice through empty air, her body flowing just out of reach. No panic, no wasted motion, only control. The spectators blinked. "Wait, did she just?" one whispered. Marcus stumbled slightly, caught off guard that his opening move had been so easily dodged. His grin faltered, but only for a moment. "Lucky," he muttered, quickly recovering. He came again, this time with a flurry of punches, hooks and jabs thrown with raw power. Isla's response was not brute force, but precision. Her arms rose in flawless blocks, each deflection effortless, her body weaving through the storm like a leaf in the wind. The sound of Marcus's fist striking against her guard echoed, but none landed true. Whispers turned into murmurs. "She's actually holding her own. No, more than that, she's reading him." Marcus's pride flared. How dare she make him look clumsy? His strikes grew wilder, faster, his breath harsher with each attempt to break her calm. But Isla's movements never broke rhythm. Each step, each shift of her stance was deliberate, her eyes studying him as though she were memorizing every weakness, every crack in his armor. Then it happened. Marcus lunged forward with a heavy right cross, leaving his left side exposed. Isla saw the opening in that fraction of a second. With a pivot smoother than silk, she slipped past the punch and tapped his ribs with a lightning-fast counterstrike, not hard enough to hurt, but precise enough to make him freeze. The sound was soft, almost unnoticed, but Marcus's eyes widened. He had been hit. The dojo fell silent again. The laughter that had filled the room earlier was gone, replaced with stunned disbelief. Even Master Hayato's expression sharpened, his hands tightening behind his back. Isla stepped back, calm as ever, lowering her hands slightly as though inviting Marcus to continue. Her silence spoke louder than any taunt. Marcus clenched his jaw, his pride burning hotter than ever. For the first time, he realized this wouldn't be the easy victory he had promised everyone. And for the first time, the dojo began to wonder, just who exactly was Isla Harper? The sharp clap of Marcus's hands broke the silence as he reset his stance. His grin was gone now, replaced with something harder, more determined. He had underestimated her once, but not again. The playful arrogance had drained from his face, leaving only the seriousness of a fighter who suddenly felt his pride on the line. Around the mat, the students leaned in, their whispers hushed. The air itself seemed to grow heavier, as though the dojo walls knew something extraordinary was about to unfold. Marcus bent his knees, lowering his center of gravity. His eyes narrowed, focusing on Isla with the intensity of a predator. He feinted left, then launched himself forward with a spinning back kick, a move that demanded both strength and precision. The kind of strike that could floor most opponents. Gasps rippled through the dojo. But Isla was ready, her small frame dipped low, her body folding beneath the arc of the kick as though she had seen it before it even began. Her movement was not just instinct, it was foresight, a silent calculation. As Marcus landed, off balance from the miss, Isla slid forward with fluid grace, her hand stopping inches from his chest in a poised strike. She didn't hit him, she didn't need to. The precision of her control spoke volumes. She could have ended the exchange right there. Murmurs spread louder now. She predicted that. That wasn't luck. Marcus's face flushed red, Humiliation cut deeper than any strike could. "All right then," he muttered under his breath, his voice low but shaking with restrained fury. He unleashed a barrage, low kicks snapping toward her legs, elbows slicing through the air, his attacks fueled by sheer force and speed. But Isla, she didn't just defend. She danced. Every movement flowed seamlessly into the next, her footwork a quiet rhythm across the mat. She blocked not with panic, but with precision, her palms redirecting strikes, her steps slipping her past danger with inches to spare. Her breathing never changed, steady as though this was routine, like shadowboxing with an opponent she already knew. For the first time, Marcus felt something he never expected: frustration. Every strike that should have connected, every move that should have forced her back, it all dissolved in the calm storm that was Isla Harper. Then, the unexpected happened. Marcus lunged with a powerful sidekick, overextending in desperation. Isla caught his ankle midair with lightning reflexes. For a fraction of a second, the dojo froze as the sight burned into everyone's eyes, the small girl holding the leg of the dojo's strongest black belt. Marcus's balance wavered. With a subtle twist and release, Isla let go, stepping back as Marcus stumbled, barely regaining his footing. She hadn't thrown him, hadn't humiliated him, she simply showed that she could have. The room erupted with disbelief. She caught him. Did you see that? Even the adults, once amused, leaned forward with new respect. Master Hayato's eyes gleamed, his silence masking the satisfaction of a teacher watching truth reveal itself. Marcus's chest heaved, his pride now dangling on the edge of collapse. He wiped sweat from his brow, glaring at Isla with a mix of anger and newfound fear. But Isla stood calm, her eyes never leaving his, her silence more powerful than any victory cry. For the first time, the dojo wasn't sure who the challenger really was. Marcus's fists trembled at his sides, his breathing ragged. Sweat dripped from his forehead, blurring his vision, but not enough to mask the calm, steady figure before him. Isla Harper stood unshaken, her eyes fixed on him, not with arrogance, not even with pity, but with something far worse from Marcus's pride: patience. The dojo was silent except for the rhythmic sound of Marcus's breaths, the anticipation so thick it was almost tangible. The students who had mocked Isla minutes ago now sat wide-eyed, their smirks long gone. Even the older black belts, once amused by the spectacle, now leaned forward, caught in the unfolding storm. Marcus clenched his jaw. "You think this is a game?" He spat, his voice echoing through the hall. He charged forward with everything he had left, a flurry of punches, elbows, and knees. His movements were raw power, fueled by desperation. Each strike was heavy, every blow a test of Isla's defenses. But Isla didn't crumble. She absorbed the chaos like water guiding around stone. Her small hands deflected Marcus's strikes, redirecting his force back into empty air. Her feet moved in precise patterns, back, pivot, sidestep, as if the dojo floor itself was mapped in her mind. For every ounce of fury Marcus threw at her, Isla countered with calm, efficient control. Then, she struck. A single palm thrust to Marcus's chest, not hard, but perfectly timed. The impact knocked him a step back, his balance faltering. Gasps erupted from the students. It wasn't the strength of the hit, it was the accuracy, the flawless execution. Marcus roared and came again, spinning into a roundhouse kick with everything he had left. Isla ducked under the arc, pivoted, and tapped his supporting leg with a sweep so sharp, Marcus crashed onto the mat before he even realized what had happened. The dojo froze. Marcus, the strongest black belt among the students, lay on the ground at the feet of the quiet little girl they had all ridiculed. His chest heaved, his pride shattered, his eyes wide with disbelief. But Isla didn't celebrate. She stepped back, bowed respectfully, and returned to her calm stance. Her humility was louder than any victory cheer could have been. The students erupted into whispers. She took him down. With just one sweep. She's unreal. Even the adults murmured with awe. The smirks had turned into silence, then into respect. And then, the voice of Master Hayato cut through the noise. Enough. The old master stepped forward, his presence commanding the attention of every soul in the dojo. His gaze swept across the room before settling on Marcus, still panting on the floor. "You fought with pride, Marcus," he said evenly, "but pride without discipline is weakness." Then his eyes moved to Isla. For a brief moment, the stern master's face softened. "And you carry not only skill, but control. A true warrior knows when not to strike." The dojo bowed their heads, some in shame, others in reverence. Marcus pushed himself up, his face flushed, but he couldn't bring himself to meet Isla's gaze. The weight of his defeat, and her restraint, was too much to bear. Isla, meanwhile, stood still, quiet as always, her presence now towering larger than anyone else in the room. The storm had broken, and the dojo would never look at her the same way again. The dojo floor was silent, yet the air buzzed with unspoken questions. Marcus sat on the mat, staring at his trembling hands, while the students whispered among themselves. The girl they had mocked, the one they thought too fragile, too quiet, had just dismantled the strongest among them with elegance that looked almost effortless. But Isla Harper remained composed. She didn't bask in the whispers, nor in the newfound awe filling the room. Instead, she bowed once again, her small hands pressed tightly to her sides, and waited. Master Hayato studied her with a gaze that seemed to pierce through time itself. His sharp eyes softened into something rarely seen in the dojo, recognition. He stepped forward, his cane tapping lightly against the wooden floor. Harper, he murmured, the name rolling in his mind like a forgotten story. I should have known. Those eyes, that discipline, that patience. The students leaned in, curiosity mounting. Master, you know her? One of the younger belts asked. Hayato nodded, slowly, reverently. Yes, I knew her father. The dojo gasped. Marcus's head jerked up, his pride momentarily overtaken by confusion. Her father, he muttered. Isla's calm eyes flickered, a shadow of emotion crossing her face. For the first time since she had stepped into the dojo, her composure wavered, just for a second. Your father, Master Hayato said, his voice steady but thick with memory, was Daniel Harper. The youngest international karate champion in our federation's history. A prodigy whose precision and spirit inspired an entire generation. The room fell silent, even the walls seemed to lean closer. Daniel Harper's name was legend. Every serious martial artist knew of him, the man who had taken the world stage by storm, earning his black belt at an age when most struggled with basics, and becoming a champion before his 20th birthday. He trained under me for a time, Master Hayato continued, his eyes never leaving Isla. And I can see his legacy alive in you. The whispers began again, this time tinged with awe. She's his daughter, no wonder she's so skilled. She's carrying his bloodline. Marcus, still on the floor, clenched his fists, not out of anger, but out of shame. He had mocked a champion's daughter, underestimated someone who bore not only her father's talent but her own years of discipline. Isla finally spoke, her voice soft but unwavering. I came here not to prove myself, but to train. My father taught me that skill without humility means nothing. Her words hung in the air like a bell's echo. Master Hayato gave a slow nod, his respect clear. And you have honored him well. The dojo does not need more pride, it needs warriors like you. With that, he bowed to her. The master bowed to the student. The entire dojo, stunned into silence, followed suit. One by one, every black belt, every white belt, every student bent low, their foreheads nearly touching the mats in reverence. Even Marcus, cheeks burning, lowered himself with trembling respect. For the first time, Isla wasn't the quiet little girl they had laughed at. She was Isla Harper, the daughter of a legend, and a champion in her own right. And as she stood there, humble yet unshakable, everyone in the dojo knew one thing for certain: they would never underestimate her again.